Designer babies, the flawless next generation. Imagine this, a baby with flawlessly sculpted facial features, perfectly curled toes, going without a hint of present or future debilitating conditions. What could possibly be awry with this seemingly picture-perfect creation? The answer, as one may suspect from this pointed question, is more multifaceted than it may initially seem. Is it a boon or a bane, or a necessity or vanity? It was fantastic achievement, in the words of Rob Edwards. It was about more than infertility. What was he talking about? It was like also the issues like stem cells and ethics of human conception. And he was questioning that whether we were actually acting like gods. But he said that the scientists in the laboratory were all of us. This was spoken on the 24th of July 2003, on the 25th birthday of Louis Brown at Bon Hall baby party. So, are we playing God? Now, the world saw its first designer baby in China, the twin girls, in 2018. The timeline for gene editing. We start way back in 2015 and up to 2019, and now going from the first twin girls in 2018 to the third child, which is a boy, in 2019. We've come a long way, and thank God it happened before COVID. Now we need to thank this because this happened before the coronavirus. What has been the concept? Genetic modification forms the basis of evolution, a gradual process that takes thousands of years perfecting an organism to adapt to its environment. Are we on our path to evolution? Is this where we start? The technique holds the potential to erase genetic defects from family pedigrees plagued by inherited diseases, treating cancer in unprecedented ways. Imagine a ready-made baby being designed in the womb that would make it all possibly evolutionarily advanced and better suited. Will that be a blessing, or will it spell doom for mankind? Just imagine this cartoon. There are about 4 cartoons here. One is a designer baby clinic where they've actually got a baby with a tag on it. Is it a Louis Vuitton? Or can you go across and look at all the baby in the nursery and then tell yourself, can I have a lawyer, a doctor, a fashion designer, a tax consultant, and whatnot? Or while you're sitting outside in a coffee shop, can you actually prepare a baby through stem cell, and that comes out through a hose pipe to tell you that this baby through stem cell therapy has all the ingredients that you would want in a baby. Now that is designer babies for you. So are we really looking at these kind of sci-fi movies? Now, of course, this can be nothing less than that. The technology, it has IVF, gene editing, cloning, and stem cell research. All these go to make the designer babies. The science behind it all, the beginning, is gene modification. Replacing a stretch of nucleotides with a new one, new mutated protein, different functions, changes in cellular activity. So a genome editing can be achieved in vitro or in vivo. Deliver the editing machinery in situ, which powerfully adds, ablates, and corrects genes, performs other highly targeted genomic modifications. So, targeted gene alterations begin from the generation of nuclease-induced double-stranded breaks, that is nucleic acid degrading enzymes. DSBs, nuclease-induced DNA, DSBs repair. Can be homology directed repair, that is the HDR, or the non-homologous end joining. Again, it goes across to the targeted integration of gene disruptions. So, nucleases, that is the ZFN, the beginning of gene editing era. ZEN, Z-E-N, that is zinc finger nucleases, protein with zinc finger domains obtained from transcription factors attached to the endonuclease domain from the bacterial FOC1 restriction enzyme. Common side effect of target mutations. So, you can have using the FOC1 and of course, looking at either using the scissors, the gene scissors, for editing this by deleting it or introducing a new gene sequence. The talons, it's similar to the ZFN except substitution of a transcription activator like effector, that is the TALE DNA binding domain instead of the zinc finger DNA binding domain to obtain a sequence specificity, less of target mutations, large in size, hence difficult to incorporate into vector. So, now let us look at this wonderful discovery of CRISPR-Cas9 in 2012. What is the CRISPR? It is clustered, regularly interspaced, short palindromic repeats. So, CRISPR are associated proteins, that is Cas, and these two wonderful ladies we have here won the Nobel Prize for Chemistry in 2020. And what's so great, the two ladies who have actually got this Nobel Prize for the first time, and this Doudna as well as Emmanuel got the prize for this particular thing of the CRISPR-Cas9 2012. So, I would like to say and laud these two people for actually getting this CRISPR technology Nobel Prize. So, genetic scissors, a tool for rewriting the code of life, and with this one can actually bring in gene editing to the forefront. So, if we have to look at it, we have the women first in 2020 winning the Nobel Prize for Chemistry, and that is a wonderful piece of news that all women must rejoice. Now, if you looked at all these things and the timelines here, right from 1987 right up to 2016, the Cas9 CRISPR used against the HIV and studying of diseases for all models. Now, if you were to look at this complex slide, all it is trying to tell you is either deleting a piece of the DNA sequence, as you will see on the top slide, or it is actually introducing a piece of DNA into that DNA sequence to alter the DNA sequence, which means to say either you delete or you add, and this makes it gene editing. So, it increases the correctness of the DNA sequencing. So, if you looked at the nucleases, that is the ZFN or the TALEN or the CRISPR cell, you will see that based on all the parameters on the left hand side, you will see that in all the three categories there has been a vast difference. So, if you were again to look at this difficult slide, you will see that this application of genome editing technology in the targeted therapy of human diseases. So, genome editing for disease modeling and gene therapy, where can it be used? Cancer research, various leukemias and lymphomas, cardiovascular diseases and congenital heart disease, long QT syndrome, cardiomyopathies, not to forget metabolic diseases, obesity, hyperlipidemia, diabetes, neurodegenerative diseases, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, Huntington's disease, and viral diseases like HIV, HEP, hereditary diseases, hematological diseases, hemophilia, sickle cell anemia, other inherited disorders like Duchenne muscular dystrophy, primary immunodeficiencies. So, what could be the future prospects? Genome editing in cancer. What about immunotherapy? In fact, application of genetically engineered T cells known as chimeric antigen receptor and CAR T cells, which allow the targeting of tumor associated antigens, could enhance the therapy response and screening for functional genes, that is CRISPR Cas9 gRNA library screening technology. Ideal tool for drug screening or the targeted screening of specific pathways, disease mechanisms, research and drug development. Gene diagnostic tools. Sherlock, a specific high sensitivity enzymatic reporter unlocking to detect low level mutations that cause cancers. The other one is DETECT, that is DNA endonuclease targeted CRISPR transreporter detection tool to screen for viral infections in cancer and to amplify microsamples. This is rather a busy slide. Application of gene editing in clinical trials. As you see that there are a large number of diseases where you can use these particular editing tools to be able to identify the disease. And you will see more such diseases that can be identified. Let us look at the pre-human GMO. We have on the left hand side the genetically modified tomatoes, and we also have in the middle slide a mosquito which has a biorefringence, and there we have the fish that have a biorefringence. All these are genetically engineered, and these genetically engineered have a longer life, and of course this is where it all started, and of course a lot of experiments are going on, and with this will of course come to human beings. So gene editing, the pros and cons, from science fiction to science fact, redefining the future. What could be the pros? No doubt gene editing is the future. Science has always faced obstacles, like how IVF gave Louise Brown to over 5 million babies globally so far. Gene editing could be the answer to many untreatable diseases our society is facing today. Insight into genotype, phenotype, correlation and mind-matter dichotomy. Let's look at the eugenics here, and you will find that a whole lot of genetics here that would actually bring in the human evolution to bring in a population of normal individuals without disease, and that is the eugenics that we are looking forward to in the next generation. What could be the cons? Germline mutation disrupting the entire new generation. New mutations could be born. Huge financial burden on the society. Philosophical and religious perspectives. Are we creating superheroes or supervillains? Consent of the unborn baby in this matter, have we taken that? Eventually, do we create a world divided between Homo sapiens and the genetically engineered ones? Does the definition of parenting change? Will the requirement to have sex for procreation abolish? The degree of ethical concern, reduced risk of genetic diseases, better understanding of genetics, prevention of adverse gene transmission. The Doubtful ones are necessary versus desired traits, self-esteem, and of course the negative ones are creation of social gaps in classes, superficial parental motives, and conflicted feelings of children. So if you were to look at the pyramid here, there is great ethical concerns and little ethical concerns on the right hand side, and to match that on the left hand side where we look at diseases that we need to abolish, there is little ethical concern about that, but to look at it for personal gain and for cosmetic gain, certainly there is going to be a lot of ethical concerns in that. There is a left brain and the right brain. The scientific world is divided just like our brains. The legal landscape is so varied. In very many countries, it's either very restrictive, it's regulated, it is permissive, or it is in various stages of legislation. So if we have to look at bringing this out, we need to have a uniform regulation across the world, and it has not yet happened so far. The International Summit on Human Gene Editing said yes to somatic gene editing and no to germline editing. The second International Summit on Human Genome Editing suggested it would be irresponsible to proceed with any clinical use of heritable germline editing at that time, and a clinical pathway for germline editing requires adhering to widely accepted standards for clinical research. The slide here shows the man who was responsible, Dr. He, who presented his unpublished paper on the birth of the twin girls, and this was after genome editing for HIV resistance, critically condemned by the scientific committee, and after that CRISPR baby scientist was sentenced to 3 years of prison. Do you think that this was ethical, what the scientific society did? Well, my dear friends, whenever you are in the right but the world is in the wrong, you need courage to stand up and say that you're right, and that is what this gentleman did. But of course the reward was a prison sentence for 3 years. I'm sure some of you will be able to ask me some questions after this as to how we can take this forward and have a debate on this. Where do we stand today? An international group calls for course correction on heritable genome editing. My friends, what is the way forward? So if we were to look at this diagram, we have to look at a large amount of investment. And where does this investment come from? The public sector, the government bodies. Where does the other part comes from? One, the education, risk, ethics and possibilities. What about the coordination? Experts from all fields, multidisciplinary, and regulations from international bodies. It's only when all these people get together that we can have an ethical and a regulated way forward, that science can be followed in both thought and spirit. It's very important that we have these kind of guidelines written down before people start practicing independently without these. So what would my conclusion be to all of you? As a society, we are at the crossroads, one at which we can continue to pursue this technology, or we can realize the danger it poses, not only to our society, but more importantly to the human dignity of the person. Genome editing, if we permit, has the ability to foster significant beneficial enhancements in particular realms. We will learn to demonstrate self-control in our utilization of this advancement, or will our human nature allow it ultimately to become a calamity? So my dear friends, the more we learn, the more we realize how little we know. So the more we want to learn, there is more we will want to know, and therefore let us be very careful, let us tread slowly. Designer babies is still experimental. We don't have it across the counter, so don't ask me, can I have a designer baby? Thank you very much.